So welcome everyone to our second webinar in a series of three. This particular webinar is talking about crafting conversations. So best practices in chatbot design and deployment. In our last webinar, we talked about how to figure out which platform you want to go with and all of the things that you need to consider when deciding on a technology for your bot. Today, it's about you've made that decision. Now, how do we put it into practice and how do we design and deploy? My name is Mickey Jacobs. I'm the Director of Services Delivery at InflowCX. And I'm going to host this webinar with my special guest, Vanessa Van Arsdale from Zoom. But our agenda for today is just to start off talking about InflowCX, what we do, who we are, who our customers are. Then we'll dive right into best practices in chatbot design and deployment with Vanessa. Today, we're specifically focusing on things to consider around localization, branding and voice, and the evolution of your bot once it's deployed. We'll end the webinar with some Q&A and then some information on how to get in touch with us if you need more information, or if you'd like some consulting of some sort on building your bot itself. So let's go ahead and get started with today's agenda and talking about InflowCX and who we are. So InflowCX, if you were to think about, if I were to say this pretty succinctly, I would just say that we help customers, our customers, evolve their call centers and operations to deliver great service for their customers. So we focus on helping you to evaluate, deploy, and optimize whatever technology and strategy you have in mind. We're very vendor neutral with our approach and all of the technology evaluations that we do. We don't have a favorite. We really are just searching for what will work best for your organization and for your strategy. So we also focus on using data to help you drive those decisions, utilizing some ROI and TCO and business case modeling. And our expertise spans the globe, if you will. So we focus on core CCaaS as well as AI, CX, UC, WFO, BPO automation, analytics, and then other key customer engagement technologies and services. And we're high touch from start to finish. So we're high touch when it comes to helping you evaluate and figure out what will work for your organization. And we're high touch when it comes to helping you get everything deployed. And then once we pass you off to our managed services team, they are very high touch as well. I think that one of the great things about Inflow that I love is that high touch piece. And if you focus on that blue box to the right of your screen, our average CSAT is 99.6. So that high touch really works, and we have a lot of satisfied customers. The other thing that I love is how we're rated on Glassdoor. So we're almost a 5-star rated company, 4.9, which I have to say I completely agree with. Inflow's just about the best place I've ever worked. All right, so let's also talk about who some of our customers are and what verticals we focus on, and it's all of them. So some examples of some of our customers you might recognize on this screen. We cover everything from tech and retail to hospitality. You can see the list of logos that we have on our screen, and this is just a small sampling. But we work from every vertical to every size company, going from the smallest startup to large enterprise, and doesn't matter what stage of transformation you're in, that you're involved with, we are there for you every step of the way. Okay, so then let's also talk about, we're vendor agnostic, if you will, or we don't have a favorite. We work with we work with only the best. And you can see some of the logos from our CCaaS partners, starting with Genesis, going through Five9, ICX1, Zoom, RingCentral, TalkDesk, Sprinklr. And then from an ecosystem standpoint, you can also see a sampling of our portfolio from WFM or WEM to AI and self-service, quality and analytics. We work with the best of the best, and our team of experts, on whether it be from implementation or consulting or managed services, they're very well engaged and can guide customers to make the decision that is best for their business and what will work best for them based on our experience. Then you can also see to the far right our UCAS partners. Again, starting with Ring Central, Zoom, 8x8, Teams, Dialpad, Nextiva, and Vonage. We cover the best of the best in UCAS as well. So let's get started with today's webinar. And I have to say that you can find recordings for our first webinar as well as today's webinar. It's all found on our website. The third of this series of 3 will be in January, and we'll have a sign up for that on our website. Also, other webinars that we have, you can find again, InflowCX.com. Today's topic, as I mentioned, is best practices in chatbot design and deployment with Vanessa Van Arsdale from Zoom. Vanessa, you gave me another description of what this is all about, and I can't remember what you said.
It's how to make your bot talk.
How to make your bot talk. So simply stated, how do you get it to talk to customers? Okay, so let's move ahead then. And I'm really just going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself, Vanessa. You and I have worked together for almost a year now. I think you're brilliant.
Thank you.
You put things in such simple language, which is so hard in today's world, in a tech world. But I love how you communicate with customers and explain all of the really technical aspects of bot deployment and bot decision making. So I'll just let you jump in.
Thank you. Hey guys, I'm Vanessa, and I do work at Zoom, and I help our partners like Inflow design and build our automation technologies. I came from a long history of automation, most recently at the startup that Zoom acquired named Solvi. And just to make sure that you guys know, I got the proof in the pudding. I've launched dozens of chatbots. I think I'm up to 8 platforms now that I've used. One of my chatbots' claim to fame is Zoom's own chatbot, and it saves $3 million a week in payroll, and that's not a joke. And then I've also taught dozens of stakeholders. I used to be a call center agent back in the beginning of my career. I was awful, and I automated my own job away. But that's how I got here, and so that's why I want to teach other people how to do too. So we'll get right into it. So there are such things as conversational designers, bot designers, however you want to say that. But today I just want to give the average person, like Mickey said, what you need to make sure that your bot can talk in a way that your customers trust. So there's 3 items that I think are most important when you're actually deploying these things. One is localization. I'll explain what that means if we don't. Branding and voice, and just accepting the constant change. So we have a poll question for you guys. When you are interacting with a chatbot, what kind of interaction do you prefer? And it's not a trick question, and there's no right answer, but it will help us inform.
Dang it, I can't vote.
Okay, so we'll let those polls come in, and we'll hit off our first one. So I purposely made these slides, and thank you so much to our amazing co-host Kylie for helping me to make these slides. I put these so that way you guys could write down decisions, and also what I'm going to say may not be popular, but it is right. And so if you are deploying a chatbot, I want to give you, my credentials and my backing, so that way you can deploy a chatbot that's actually effective. And so with localization, I'll start off with the first one, which is a business decision. So localization means making your chatbot apply to that local area. So my favorite example is I one time built a bot, and it was for a company whose very best call center agent was known by answering the phone and all of his emails by saying howdy. And everybody knew that that's how they answered the phone, howdy. And so when we were building their bot, I was like, the bot needs to say howdy, because that's what you're known for. You're known that when you call customer service, you say howdy. And so that's localization. Another example of localization is in Canada, they speak two languages, French and English. So we would want to build, if we were building a chatbot for a Canadian company, we would want to build one in both languages and make sure that we're offering it to the customers in the language they speak. But this is most important, is that all customers are important, but not all customer bases are equal. So example is you may have an American business that you're building a chatbot for, and 98% of your customer base speaks English. 2% of your customer base speaks Spanish. Of that 2%, the actual quantity of people is 3 people speak Spanish in your customer base. While those 3 people, we want to find ways to talk to them in the language that they choose. It would not be wise to spend an absorbent amount of money making a custom Spanish bot or automation in Spanish for those 3 customers, because you would be sacrificing the experience and the money you could pour into the majority of your customers. Another example is Chinese. There's several different dialects of Chinese. You would want to analyze the customer base and pick the dialect that most of the customers speak and work on putting your resources towards that.
And I think we have the results of that poll.
Yes.
So it might be a great time to, since we're talking about tone and voice. So question number 1 was, when you're acting with a chatbot, what kind of interaction do you prefer? And most of our respondents said they want it to be to the point, which surprised me because I would have said friendly.
Yeah, I would have said friendly too, but that's good to know. That and this is another example of where you may want to that third little bullet point there, consider the importance of cultural tone of voice. If you're building a bot for an Eastern European country, for example, or you're building a German bot, you want to be straight to the point. And if you're not sure, or you're running into these, if you're running into stakeholder indecision, pull your customers just like we did and see what they say. And if they say straight to the point, well, then I guess we're using a few less emojis and exclamation points. So that's what's important. And
sorry to interrupt you, Vanessa.
Again, so machine translation versus custom built voice and chatbot. So last time we covered like the type of chatbot provider you should pick. Almost all of them have some sort of version of, you build a bot in one primary language, doesn't always have to be English. You build it in a primary language, then you machine translate and copy the bots into the other languages. Most platforms also have the ability, just because machine translation is not perfect yet industry-wide, most of them have the ability to alter specific words and tailor to there. But that can be expensive. Imagine if you had a bot for a giant international bank. That would take forever. So with localization, again, you really just need to make sure that you're looking at who your customers are. What is the tone of voice you need? What are the local law and policies to follow? And the cost and time to manage. So if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A, because I know that this is one that really can be hard. And a real example there, I put a little funny GIF that's my favorite to use, is an emergency exit door written in Japanese. I think it's Japanese. Yes, it is. And it machine translated into panic carefully. And so this is the kind of things that can happen in machine translation when you can't take the time. Now, in this case, if this was a bot, I mean, we have other indicators. It may not be worth reprinting the sign and getting it all right. We know that's the exit. So does anyone have any questions before I move on to the next one? All right.
Just remember, you can always put them in the chat and we'll answer them at whatever point in the webinar. Whoops, sorry, Vanessa.
It's okay. You move it forward. Move it forward.
I'll move it. Sorry. There we go.
Good. It's good. All right, branding and voice. So I have 2 good stories for this one. So just like your agents go through customer training and training for your company, so does your bot. So always ask your project stakeholders for their brand guidelines from marketing. I mean, I've built some pretty small bots, and even my very small bots for very small companies, they have at least like a one pager that's like, we use this brand, here's our logo, or these colors, this logo, gives you some general idea. If not, just go to their website, write down some things you observe, and then ask if that's correct. Also, shadow an ideal customer using the current system in your new design. This has been the secret to my success. This is how I got a bot to build to save $3 million a week. And a fun fact from Ancestry, I actually shadowed the mother-in-law of one of my coworkers because she was a huge Ancestry.com user when I was designing their bot with my very good friend, Mary Lou. So we've shadowed her. And at one point she was using the current bot and she was like, oh, I can't read this. But why is this font so small? Make it so an old woman like me can read this. And we were just like shocked because when we went back and looked, somehow in the design decisions of the current bot, the font got moved to like size 9, super small. It was huge, long bricks of text. It was really unusable for the demographic of Ancestry, which tends to be an older demographic. And so what we did was when we were designing their new bot, we increased the font size to 14 or 16. We actually went against a best practice and we added more clicks and more like, do this. Are you ready? Okay, now do that. Are you ready? Then this. Are you ready? We did that in the bot and we actually increased their customer satisfaction rate by 30%. That is a real stat. They were blown away. And it was all just because we watched Maggie's mother-in-law go through the system.
I think that's such an overlooked piece is considering really who your customer base is and the importance of knowing who that customer base is. I just happened to be in Florida with my 80-year-old mother this week, and so I'm picturing her in my mind with Ancestry or with that kind of scenario, and those are all, those are exactly things that I would have forgotten, but yes, they're so important. So I love that.
And some people, like, this is another one where I want to give you guys like the confidence of, like, when we first presented that, people were like, that's a little aggressive. But you know what? I had a real customer. I am not their customer base. I got the data from them. Their customer base was 65 plus, and it was like it was skewed a little bit more towards women, but almost 50-50. And so we went and found somebody who met that customer profile, and that's what she said. And so, and when we did it, there we go. There's the result. So that's why I think it's important. Yeah, have your mom, Vicky, you know, if she's the customer base, have her say it, use her quote.
So let me ask you too, Vanessa, is when customers are typically doing this particular work and they're having someone test it out, who do they typically go to? Is it internal employees, or where do you think that how would you get them to think outside the box on that? Or would you encourage them to use an offsite, or, you know, not internal people, but offsite real people, if you will, to get feedback on that?
Well, that is so funny you said this because we're talking a lot about our mothers. This is taking a turn I didn't expect it to take. But it's funny because I was just training one of my other friends when they were doing their separate bot deployment. And I was like, well, did you ask your mom to test this?
Right.
And he was like, why would I have my mom test this? It was like for like an automotive company. So like their customer base was like really skewed young and male. And I was like, because one, your mom will tell you the truth. So if your bot is misunderstood, like if you can't understand it, your mom will tell you. And two, if your mom can operate it, probably a distracted person who's like texting while using the bot and, you know, on the train somewhere will probably also be able to use it. Like it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
So I always joke around, like, ask your significant other, ask your mom, ask your sister, brother, as a starting point to really kind of figure out like if you've missed the mark. And then from there, honestly, it's a really fun way. Like if we were building one for Inflow, we could post it on social media and be like, hey, does anyone want to beta test our bot and see how it goes? Like sometimes it's really fun to get that feedback. We've had that happen a lot. Our customers,
Yeah.
as long as you kind of put it out there, like we know, this is beta, give us feedback, but customers really like that and you'll learn a lot about them.
Yeah, sometimes I think when we're building things like that, we tend to think, oh, let's just get somebody from our team, some various people from our team. And I think it's so great to think really outside of that. I don't want to say outside of the box, but outside of your internal organization to get those tests done. So if it passed the mom test, then you should be good to go. Okay, sorry, I went off on a tangent yet again.
No, it's good. It's good. And then the last but not least is the example I have here, which Mickey was with me, I think. I think Mickey, this is when we were first met.
Yeah.
I built a bot that I couldn't use any contractions. I used a contraction, as I said, cannot use contractions. But you know what? That was their brand guidelines. It was for an insurance company, fire insurance company, and it was serious. Like that was their brand guidelines, and they wanted to have a very serious, to the point. That's how their agents talked. That's how their marketing was. They wanted it straight to the point, no contractions, no, we also had no abbreviations of acronyms. So that's what we had to do. And guess what? It turned out great.
And it's 70% of the participants on this webinar said the same thing. They wanted straight and to the point. So maybe we're headed in that direction. I just like it friendly.
Yes.
Anyway, are you going to do the slide or do you want me to? I'll move us forward.
Yeah, you move it.
Okay. Any questions? Remember, you can put them in the chat. There we go.
All right. And this is my next one. And this is also something at the very beginning of a project, I make sure that we have buy-in and that our project managers state this in writing and say it to the executive sponsor directly, is that these are bots. This is newer technology, first of all. Second, just like language, just like our business, it's always evolving. So we may launch it with the best of plans. It goes live. An example is we built a bot for Match.com. It was fantastic, but we got use cases that all of a sudden when we added a bot, even though we looked at the data, this use case didn't ever show up in tickets or anything. But when we added a bot, which was new, all of a sudden we had this use case come up with emergencies that we had never seen before. And so we had to pivot and we had to do a change order, and we had to put extra resources on it. The project was extended 2 weeks, but you know what? We learned a lot. Match learned a lot. We learned a lot. I believe that one also with Zendesk. Zendesk learned a lot. And it was just something you could never have expected. So just prepare yourself. And honestly, it's a good thing. Set those expectations at all levels, from executive all the way down to your bottom stakeholder. And why is it a good thing? Because like Match, these emergency questions had been coming in, but they were just so low volume, they never peaked. But then when we had the chatbot and they started peaking, we actually realized that there was just a gap in our customer process. So sometimes, and try to frame those like emergencies or those, measure twice, cut once kind of things when it doesn't go out. Try to find where you can learn and improve from it.
I can't believe that you built a bot for Match. You keep saying Match and Match.com, the dating app.
Yes, yes.
So awesome.
It was a fantastic project, and I love to joke that yes, I did have. I'm married, but I had a profile on there for testing, and my husband was like, "Oh, I love to tease him about that." But also, my sister was one of the first Match.com relationships on there. She used to be featured back in the day in 2008.
That's awesome.
So the last thing I wanted to point out was this little funny slide I had on here. Language is also evolving. So just like we've seen on ChatGPT, just like we'll see again with the next iteration, just like we see with English and the different versions between British, American, Canadian, Australian, it's just always evolving. So sometimes you'll see where you just alter the word in your bot and also the results pop up. Exactly, Mickey, what you were just saying, how I referred to it as match. And I think everyone understands what I'm talking about. Well, I mean, if I put that in a bot subconsciously, I'm not thinking about it. Well, then I add the .com and all of a sudden I'm getting results.
Right.
So just prepare for change. You're going to try, you're going to fail, you're going to succeed, and keep trying.
And just because things come up or things are not working doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It just means maybe something has evolved. And so always be thinking about how to improve and how to tweak and make changes. And one small tweak, I think what's really stuck out to me is one small tweak to your bot can make a huge difference. Just like what you talked about, the slight change that you made at Zoom and how it's saved how much in payroll?
Yeah, $3 million a week for the English bot. And you actually reminded me of a good point. When we were building the Zoom bot too, talking about all of this together, we have a very large Japanese business, and we had a machine translated bot in Japanese, and Japanese is one of the most difficult languages to translate. Look it up. It's actually very fascinating. So the Japanese were already dissatisfied with the current bot. Also, the Japanese culture, as is well known, has different business practices, has different business culture. And so when we were analyzing the Zoom bot and looking about which ones we machine translate, which ones do we build a manual handcrafted bot, we actually decided to build a Japanese bot. And at first, the American team was just going to hire, a translation company. But then we thought, you know what, we got to hit this right. So we actually got our own, what we call Zoomies, our internal employees from Japan. We taught them, just like I'm teaching you, all the bot basics, and we helped them build their Japanese bot. So it sounded like a Japanese Zoomie. It felt like a Japanese Zoomie. And that was also a very successful project, and it was different. Ironically, our Chinese bot is auto-translated.
Wow.
So it's just try, fail, try again. The name of the game, prepare your executives. The best part is you have all the data behind in chatbots and voice bots to prove your point. And that's the fun part. So, and then using customers like yourself, Mickey, like Inflow, can really help you. Honestly, this is not joking either. Sometimes you need a third party like Inflow to come in and tell your project stakeholder you need a Japanese bot.
Yeah.
You tried one, it didn't work. We're experts.
That's one of the funnest things when we're working with a customer on a bot. We have a team of people that will compile when we're working with a customer, because we all had different experiences. We all have different, and so when you put a bunch of us together, a bunch of my engineers together, they always come up with the best solution. And I think another point that you mentioned was make sure, prepare your executives, make sure that your executives understand this piece of it so that they know, hey, we're having to make these changes, or hey, we did make this change and we saw this huge uptick, whatever it might be. So I love that. Great points.
Well,
Okay, we're low on time. I can't believe it.
That was the gist of it. I hope that was helpful and succinct to everybody on here. I would love to, through Inflow or any of our channels.
So we did have one question come through. So I'll ask you this, Vanessa, really quickly, and that is, what are the differences between conversational AI and traditional AI? And which should I start with for my bot?
Oh, this is funny. And Mickey, you and I have actually worked on this together because Inflow is implementing Dropbox's chatbot.
Yes.
And they actually did a test where they took their help desk, their help center, and they ran it through traditional AI, which is like where you take the actual portion of how it was really written and you just take it out in snippets.
Okay.
Versus conversational, which is where it ingests it and then kind of molds it, refines it, and then spits it back out. So we ran 2 tests. The first one was awesome. Conversational AI, when we did the article, how to cancel my subscription.
Oh yeah.
Traditional AI, it was fine. It was just kind of boring, but it was fine. And conversational was awesome because it like put it in these little bullet points. It was great. But then we did it again, and it was like this long, ugly paragraph in the conversational AI. So the difference is traditional AI, you can control. It's quite literally spitting out what you put in.
Okay.
Conversational AI is ingesting what you took, what you put in, molding it, making it more conversational, and spitting it back out.
But sometimes the conversational might be too small or too short, or sometimes it might be too long. Okay.
May not match your brand.
Yep.
Example of a legal, like a law firm, you would not want to use conversational AI because you can't afford, you already massaged it.
Yeah.
You don't want to massage anymore.
So would that answer the question then? If I'm starting off and I'm creating my bot, should I start? Do you recommend that everyone start with traditional AI? Okay.
Yeah, I would, just because it's more controllable. Also, when you're machine translating, it's easier to like figure out panic carefully. It's easier to figure out why it chose that.
Okay.
But give conversational AI a try.
Okay.
And again, like maybe asking your consultant like Inflow what they recommend or how to test this, how to do an A/B test and track the results. Because you should start with traditional AI, but always keep iterating and growing your bot.
Going back to that same old thing, always keep changing and morphing. Okay. Yeah. So, Vanessa, I can't believe how quickly this 30 minutes went. Thank you so much for the folks that sent in questions or answered the poll. If you'd like to get in touch with us, I mentioned that you can find lots of things on our website. So you can find future webinars. You can find this one once we post it. You can find our previous webinar, the first in the series, on our website or on YouTube. And then look for the third in the series to be posted here pretty soon. I can't remember the date, but I'm sure it'll show up on my calendar. And then we look forward to seeing you for webinar number 3. If you've got any questions, you can reach us at contact@inflowcx.com or the phone number that's listed on the screen. Or again, just go to our website. Vanessa, thanks so much. I just love talking to you. You make everything so easy. I'm terrible at this, my kids say. Anyway, thanks so much. Everyone have a great day. And thanks to our marketing team for hosting.
See you later.
Bye-bye.